And I have a message. So you'll give me a couple of minutes here, or half an hour, or 50, whatever it takes to get this thing switched around. Oh, it's working just fine. Isn't that wonderful? Continuing in our series of the Kingdom of the Heavens, Part 8. And I chose out of Matthew 13 the parable of the wheat and the tares. Yahweh, open our eyes that we might see wonders from your word. I teach out of Yahweh's word rather than making stuff up. The kingdom of the heavens is very similar to sowing seeds. Actually, it's extremely similar to everything that grows. When you put a lump of leaven, which is yeast, in a lump of dough, it rises. It grows. Yes? If you plant a seed, it's going to turn into a plant. Whatever seed is sown will turn into that plant. That's in the natural, of course. I know that nowadays they're doing weirdo things, but that's not real. Yeshua said, "The reign of the heavens has become like a man who sowed good seed in his field." We're assuming that was wheat, because the rest of the parable seems to be discussing wheat. He sowed it expecting wheat. That's what he wanted. He expects to see wheat growing in the field in a few weeks. Here he is sowing the wheat, yes. And this is exactly what he expects to see. No tomatoes, no nothing else. Matter of fact, in his hands, he should be able to feel a wheat seed from a corn seed. I mean, look, I don't know anything about farming, but I've seen a corn seed and I've seen a wheat seed, and they're not alike. So this guy's going to feel them. Oh, that's the corn. He'll take it out of there. Now, it further says, while men slept. Now, that may have two meanings. First meaning is just like here. We got Beetle Bailey sleeping on guard duty. This may refer to men that were supposed to be guarding the field and they were taking a nap. Or this could be a Hebraicism, just a Hebraic idiom that is saying nighttime. People sleep at night. And nothing is expected to happen at night, especially his enemy came and sowed darnel along with the wheat and went away. Sowing at night's dumb. I mean, some of the fields are not going to be real smooth and everything. There's got to be a hole or something, gophers, whatever. So it's dumb to do it. So this is a deliberate act of sabotage that's taking place. An enemy came and sowed darnel. Oh, wait a minute, I gotta go back. Darnel looks like wheat. The seeds are similar, and when it grows, it looks like wheat until it gets to that fruit stage where it opens up. It is poisonous to humans and animals. Did you know, this I found out, in Roman times, there was a death penalty for sowing darnel in your fields. Because the seeds would sprout, or the seeds would come off when the plant ripened, and that could be transferred to another field, killing people and animals. I didn't know that. That's something else. Darnel is not a weed. So you may find scripture versions that say the wheat and the weeds. Nothing like that. All right, Yeshua says of the one who sowed the darnel, the tares, The darnel are the sons of the wicked one, and the enemy who sowed them is the devil. The darnel are the sons of the wicked one. So now we've gone from plants to people. Okay, so the farmers' buddies, they go out there and they look and they say, whoa, wait a minute. We got wheat here, but some of this stuff's not wheat. It's this darnel. Now, darnel and wheat, I'm told, are both grasses. You all know that corn is a grass, yes? Did you know that bamboo's a grass? It is. They're grass plants, so they're going to look, one grass will look like another grass, especially when it's pretty young. They don't look like this big old weed thing here. You know, I was thinking about this many years ago. I remember as a child going by these big wheat fields, and I'd see thistles, you know, coming up out of them, and the thistles up in Minnesota they're big plants. I think like a tree thing coming up out of them. Well, that was any farmer that can't recognize a weed from his wheat shouldn't be farming. All right? So it's not a weed. They look like this. Now, the one on the left is wheat. The one on the right is the darnel. Look very, very similar. So, and then the guys asked the farmer, the owner of the property, do you wish then that we gather them up? And he says, no, you know, you do that and you're going to pull up the wheat with the darnel. Now, they didn't have the kind of planting techniques, I guess, that we have nowadays. Of course, I don't know what that means, but the stuff was basically broadcast, and the seeds the plants could grow literally right next to each other, touching each other. If this is the case, and you pull up the weed thing or the darnel thing, you're going to pull up the other stuff too, maybe a whole handful of it. So we'll leave it be, and we're going to let both grow together until the harvest. And at the time of the harvest, I shall say to the reapers, first, gather the darnel and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat and put it in the granary. Oh, so be careful about your rapture theories out there, okay? Because this might be what the rapture is. The first thing that's gathered is the bad stuff. And I'll mention that in a little bit. First, gather the darnel. Now, it might be that now that they're grown and they're all full of the fruit, the grain, that the darnel is easier to pick up. Just right, Will? You can see this thing, you can reach over and grab this and pull it out. It must be, because it says so. Yeah, the head doesn't droop, so the head's sticking up. Is that it? Because a good field of wheat's going to droop when it's ready. It's heavy. Now, at the time of the harvest, I got to stress this. At the time of the harvest, gather the darnel and burn them in a lake of fire. Oh, no, it doesn't say that yet. That's coming. Now, at the time of harvest, Yeshua is saying of this time, read between the lines, okay? Of this time, the son of Adam, that's him, shall send out his messengers, that's y'all call them the angels, and they shall gather out of his reign all of the stumbling blocks and those doing lawlessness, the Torahlessness, and shall throw them into the furnace of fire. The stumbling blocks and those doing lawlessness. I better ought to talk about that. I think I will in a minute. He's saying there shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. I don't know what gnashing of teeth is. I've heard it all my life, but it's kind of like, gritting your teeth, probably so hard you could break them. But it's the end, and they know it. It's too late. You can't turn back. And they're in the fire, the furnace of fire. But, he says, gather the wheat into my granary. The wheat is going to become the kingdom and the people entering the kingdom. Now, at the time of the harvest, Yeshua further says, then the righteous, the tzaddikim, the righteous shall shine forth as the sun in the reign of their Father. And he closes this with, he who has ears to hear, let him hear. That's a big statement. Wake up, listen to what he said, and take it, more than take it to heart, do it. This is kingdom stuff. This is salvation stuff. All right, I want to talk about a practical application of this parable. I'm going to discuss a thing called the assembly. Here's what the word assembly means. It is the church, lowercase c. It's not the corporate body called the church, as in the First Baptist Church of America or whatever it is. It is the church as in people. The Greek is ekklesia or ekklesia. The Hebrew is kahal. And those words all mean an assembly or congregation of people. Not a building, not an institution, but people. Because there are escapees within the institution of the church. And there are also some that were sowed by their father in the church. In the assembly of believers, we find the following: good seed. Good seed that grows into good plants. And it produces bountiful harvest. The harvest might be 30 or 60 or 100. You recognize those words? I didn't say them. We find seed that is destined to mature into strong believers. Now, within that pile of seed, there are some that are going to be the 30. They're not very strong believers, and I'm not going to pass any kind of judgment on them. There's a lot of reasons for that. And then there's the strong 100 believers in there. They are totally committed. They read the scriptures. They study them. They put them in their heart. And we find Israel. You got to pay attention on Wednesdays, because I started it last week. We will continue Wednesday evening from 5 o'clock till about 6 or so. I'm doing a series of messages on who is Israel. Are you Israel? You have to be. But then, what does that mean? So we'll talk about it. That is a good seed. Israel is the good seed. Now, in the assembly of believers, we also find seed that is sown by the devil, as Yeshua says. Seed that is sown by ha-satan. Now, the English word devil is the Hebrew word ha-satan. It is not a name. Y'all use Satan with a capital S. No, that is not a name at all. The Hebrew ha means the, and satan means adversary. The adversary, the enemy, as it says in the scripture. The enemy is the one that sows the bad seed, and they look just like everybody else. The bad seed is destined to become false teachers. The bad seed is destined to become disobedient people, Torah breakers, Sabbath breakers. It's not my words, it's in the book. It's Scripture. Okay, everybody says, yeah, you read all that Old Testament stuff. What do you know? Okay, well, here's what I know. In Romans, you know who wrote Romans? This guy, Shaul, which was his real name, says, and even as they do, and I'm keeping this in context, by the way, I'm just not pulling some words, and even as they did not think it worthwhile to possess the knowledge of Elohim, Elohim gave them over to a worthless mind, to what is improper, having been filled with all unrighteousness, whoring, wickedness, greed, evil, filled with envy, murder, fighting, deceit, evil habits, whispering, slanders, haters of Elohim, insolent, proud, boasters, devisers of evil, disobedient to parents. Did I just say this? I said a lot of that. Haters of Elohim, insolent, without discernment, covenant breakers, and unloving, unforgiving, and the worst one, ruthless. Ruthless. That's some of your pastors, some of your teachers, some of your other pew sitters. Ruthless. They will cut you to shreds. You've met them. Unforgiving and unloving. Covenant breakers. Okay, the covenant sign is to Yahweh is the Sabbath. This one, though, without the discernment, is, I cannot believe how many people I've heard say, well, it says this, and I'm looking at it, it says, you haven't got one speck of discernment in your whole entire body. How can you say that Scripture means what you just turned it into? All right, I'll get on with that. All right, this is the assembly. Early on, little seeds, they all look alike. Yahweh planted some of them, and along comes the Satan, Hasatan, and he plants the other. There's good seed. That good seed is destined to mature into strong believers. There's Israel there. There's also some bad seed that's been introduced into the assembly. We don't know who they are yet. You take a look at them and they all look alike. What's amazing is on Sunday morning you can walk into a church and you can see everybody looks alike. Smiling, and they're praising, and they're worshiping, and they're carrying on and everything, and you can't tell who's who, unless you get to know them, of course. And this is within the Messianic movement, too, or Hebrew roots movement, or whatever you want to call it. The followers of the way look just like this, too. There's real good people in there. There's people in there that want to learn so bad they will give up everything. As the next parable says, they will sell everything to buy that field or possess that pearl. You read it. Read Matthew 13. They will give up all that they have just to know the truth. That's what we try to teach here. We really try. I know Pastor's done very well at it. I've been listening to him rather critically. And he's on the ball. So, anyway, all right, I digress here somehow. So as the assembly continues in its life, they start showing up some of the others. Upon the maturity, we see the bad seed. They stick out like a sore thumb. You got the narcissist there, destined to be a leader within the people, the believers. I know that guy. Shouldn't be there at all. He's a post turtle. Y'all know what a post turtle is. You see a turtle sitting on a post. He didn't get there naturally. Somebody else put him there, and he does not belong there. And this is what you're going to find within the Christian church and the Messianic movement. Followers of the way, as it says in Acts chapter 24. And you're going to find people that are just always angry. Now, I know there are some people that have psychological issues that cause this angriness, and that's not who I'm addressing. There are things, the wounded come here. We should be inviting the wounded in. Everybody, the alcoholic, the somebody off the street, the drug addict off the street, and we should be the ones that they come to seek, and we should be helping them. Unfortunately, I've been in so many churches that shoot the wounded. Okay, they're going to manifest themselves exactly what Shaul spoke of back there in Romans chapter 1. You can go read it, and you can get it. You can see it yourself. They're disguised as good seed. You can put on a suit and a tie, and man, you look cool. Well, ladies wouldn't look cool in a suit and tie, but the equivalent, whatever, you look real good. But inside, whitewashed tombs, and on the inside is dead men's bones. You know what dead men's bones smell like after about the 4th or 5th week? Maybe 4 or 5 months in. Ugh. Yeah, really. You hope I never find out. The son of Adam, that's Yeshua, will send out his messengers. That's not our responsibility. His messengers. Not me, not you, boy, not you, and most definitely not me. And those messengers will gather out of his reign all of the stumbling blocks. Now, I've been in churches and I've tried to teach this stuff, and I'm going to tell you, they're there. They are there. Just, they want us, you walk by and they stick the foot out, knock you over. While you're down, they'll help you up, beat you in the head with something, particularly their Bible. All right? The guy that's saying, you got to listen to what Paul says, and I want to tell you that's happened. I am tired of being bludgeoned over the head by somebody trying to force Scripture down. I said, excuse me, do you know that Paul also says the Torah is good? That verse you're quoting, read the verse before it and the verse after it. You might find that it isn't saying what you think it's saying. And those doing lawless, Yeshua says of the lawless, the person who will not follow the Torah and teaches others not to follow the Torah will be least in the kingdom. You will be lucky if you are the assistant dustpan holder to the street sweeper. That's serious stuff. And he's not asking you to do anything that's hard. You're following the Jewish law, the oral law. We're not to work on the Sabbath. Does it say that? It says don't work on the Sabbath. As a matter of fact, in Exodus chapter 20, where you got the 10 Commandments, it says don't you work. Don't have your daughter or your son work. Don't have your they use the word slaves, but your attendants, your servants work, and don't even work your animals. Now, that doesn't mean don't feed them, because they don't know any better. Don't make your plow creatures, whatever you plow with, plow. And don't have somebody else do it for you either. Well, he's a Gentile. He can go ahead and do that. I'll just sit back here and be a real good Torah follower. No, you're making someone else work for you. That's why we don't buy or sell on the Sabbath. We don't want the other guy to work. That's why we don't stop at the Sonic on the way home from here, because we're making that other person work. That's all. It's not some legalistical thing, all right? All right, anyway, I want to get rid of these guys. At the end of the age, this is what happens. We just got rid of that false teacher. Yeah, I couldn't get it just right. And we start Yahweh, Yeshua's people, his messengers, are starting to just take each one of these things out of. But now notice they are within the assembly of Yahweh's believers. And he's the one who can take them out because he knows how to do that. We really don't know how to remove that guy out of the assembly without possibly causing some harm. We don't even know what harm we could cause. Now, we have discernment, and in that discernment allows us to judge others. Oh, sorry, you don't like to hear that. We can judge somebody else's behavior and say, you know, your behavior doesn't really line up with the scriptures, so I'm not taking you out. But Yeshua will at the end of the day, at the end of the age. And the last guy was the guy with the big mouth. You've heard him. Screams and yells about everything. Then the righteous, okay, the righteous shall shine forth as the sun in the reign of their Father. The righteous. You know, all over the place I see this word remnant. It's everywhere. Only the remnant is saved? Out of all the millions that existed, 8 people survived the flood? Bummer. So think of that when you say, well, you know, we're okay. No. That mass that's calling themselves for the church is going to be gleaned deeply and painfully. Shalom, y'all.